I buried my pride in the same desk drawer where I kept my resignation letter, and signed for 3 years. Evelyn Harper, my boss, had just taken credit for my marketing campaign, again. At the annual board meeting, her voice dripped with confidence as she presented my data-driven strategy to double our company's revenue. The room erupted in applause. My name wasn't mentioned once. I sat in the back, my jaw tight, my hands gripping the chair until my knuckles whitened. 10 years at Pinnacle Media, and I was still Elliot Moore, the invisible cog in her machine. The betrayal wasn't new. Evelyn had been siphoning my ideas since she became director 5 years ago. I'd pitch concepts in private meetings, only to hear her parrot them to the C-suite, her smile sharp as a blade. I stayed quiet because I needed the job, bills don't pay themselves, and my sister, Clara, relied on me after her accident. But that day, as Evelyn basked in stolen glory, something snapped. I wasn't just angry, I was done. After the meeting, I lingered in the office, the hum of fluorescent lights my only company. My desk, cluttered with sticky notes and coffee stains, felt like a prison. I opened my laptop and started digging. Evelyn wasn't flawless, nobody is. If I could find dirt, something to expose her, I could reclaim my life. Hours passed, my eyes burning as I scoured old emails, forgotten shared drives, anything. Then I found it, a file labeled EH_personal. A spreadsheet, buried in a misnamed folder, detailing payments to an unknown vendor, Blue Horizon Consulting. The numbers didn't add up, hundreds of thousands unaccounted for, funneled through vague invoices. My pulse raced. Was Evelyn embezzling? I copied the file to a USB drive, my hands shaking. This was my leverage, but I needed more. I needed a plan. As I slipped the drive into my pocket, my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus, my coworker and only ally, meet me at the diner. Got something you need to hear. I glanced at the empty office, the weight of the USB heavy in my pocket. What did Marcus know? And why did his message feel like a warning? The diner smelled of grease and regret, its neon sign flickering like my resolve. Marcus sat in a corner booth, his usual grin replaced by a tight-lipped frown. He was the only one at Pinnacle who saw through Evelyn's charm, but he played the game better than I did, kept his head down, stayed out of her crosshairs. As I slid into the booth, he pushed a coffee toward me, his eyes scanning the room like we were in a spy movie. "Elliot, you're poking a bear," he said, voice low. "I saw you snooping on the server last night." My stomach dropped. How did he know? Before I could respond, he leaned closer. "Evelyn's not just a thief. She's connected. People above her, big people, protect her. That spreadsheet you found? It's not what you think." I gripped the USB in my pocket, my mind racing. "What is it, then?" I asked. Marcus hesitated, glancing at the waitress pouring coffee 2 tables away. "Money laundering," he whispered. "Blue Horizon isn't a vendor. It's a front. Evelyn's funneling cash for someone higher up, maybe even Richard Vance, the CEO." My head spun. Richard was untouchable, a corporate god who golfed with senators. If Marcus was right, I wasn't just taking on Evelyn, I was stepping into a viper's nest. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. Marcus sighed, rubbing his temples. "Because you're not the only one she's screwed over. But if you go after her, you need to be smart. She's got eyes everywhere." He slid a napkin across the table with a name scrawled on it, Lila Bennett. "She's an ex-accountant from Pinnacle," Marcus said. "Fired 2 years ago for asking too many questions. Find her. She knows more than I do." As I pocketed the napkin, the diner door chimed. A man in a gray suit walked in, his gaze lingering on us too long. Marcus tensed. "Go," he hissed. "Now." I left, heart pounding, the napkin and USB burning holes in my pocket. Who was that man, and why did Marcus look so scared? Finding Lila Bennett wasn't easy. Her name was scrubbed from Pinnacle's records, like she'd never existed. After days of dead ends, I tracked her to a small apartment in a rundown part of town. She answered the door in sweatpants, her eyes wary, hair pulled back in a messy bun. "Elliot Moore," I said, offering a handshake she didn't take. "I need to talk about Evelyn Harper." Lila's face hardened, but she let me in. Her apartment was sparse, walls bare except for a single framed photo of her with a young girl, her daughter, I guessed. "Evelyn ruined my life," Lila said, pouring cheap wine into chipped mugs. "I found discrepancies in the books, same as you probably did. Asked too many questions, and next thing I know, I'm fired, blacklisted from every firm in the city." She confirmed Marcus's story. Blue Horizon was a shell company, a pipeline for dirty money. But Lila dropped a bigger bomb. "It's not just Evelyn and Richard," she said. "There's a network. Board members, investors, even people outside Pinnacle. They're untouchable, Elliot. If you go after her, you're going after them all." I told her about the spreadsheet, hoping for guidance. She laughed, a bitter sound. "That's just the tip. You want real dirt? Hack Evelyn's personal email. She's careless, uses the same password for everything." Lila scribbled a string of characters on a post-it, Starlight 77. "Start there. But be careful. They ruined me. They'll do worse to you." That night, I sat in my apartment, the glow of my laptop casting shadows. I hesitated, then typed Starlight 77 into Evelyn's email login. It worked. Her inbox was a goldmine, messages to Richard, cryptic references to the fund, and one email from an unknown address: "Keep Elliot quiet, or we will." My blood ran cold. They knew I was digging. But who was we? And how far would they go to stop me? Evelyn's emails painted a picture darker than I'd imagined. Coded language, offshore accounts, names I didn't recognize. I forwarded the juiciest ones to a burner email, my hands trembling. This wasn't just about revenge anymore, it was survival. If they knew I was onto them, I had to move fast. But I needed proof that couldn't be ignored, something public, undeniable. I reached out to Clara, my sister, who worked freelance as a graphic designer. She had a knack for making data look sexy. "Can you turn a spreadsheet into something a journalist would drool over?" I asked, showing her the Blue Horizon numbers. She raised an eyebrow but nodded. "This looks shady, Elle. You sure you want to poke this hornet's nest?" I wasn't sure, but I was too deep to stop. While Clara worked, I met Marcus again, this time in a crowded park to avoid prying eyes. He looked worse, pale, jumpy. "They're watching you," he said. "Evelyn's been asking questions about your server activity." My stomach churned. "Did you tell her anything?" I asked. He shook his head, but his eyes darted away. "Just, lay low, Elliot. I'm trying to help." That night, Clara sent me a sleek infographic breaking down the Blue Horizon payments. It was perfect, clear, damning, ready to leak. I contacted a journalist, Sarah Coleman, who wrote exposés for a local outlet. She agreed to meet, but as I left my apartment, I noticed a black SUV parked across the street. The same one had been there yesterday. Was I paranoid, or was someone following me? As I drove to the meeting, my phone rang, an unknown number. I answered, and a distorted voice said, "Stop digging, Elliot. Or Clara pays the price." The line went dead, and my heart stopped. How did they know about my sister? Sarah Coleman was all business, her notepad ready as we met in a noisy coffee shop. I handed her the USB with the infographic and emails, my hands clammy. "This could bring down Pinnacle," she said, scanning the files. "But it's dangerous. You're sure you want your name on this?" I shook my head. "Anonymous. For now." She nodded, promising to publish within days. Driving home, my mind was a storm. The threat against Clara replayed on a loop. I called her, urging her to stay with a friend, but she brushed me off. "I'm fine, Elle, stop worrying." But I couldn't. The SUV was back, parked 2 blocks from my place. I took a detour, my heart pounding, and spent the night at a motel. The USB and Lila's Post-it my only companions. The next morning, Sarah's article hit. "Pinnacle Media embroiled in money laundering scandal," screamed the headline. Social media erupted, and Evelyn's name was everywhere. I expected relief, but all I felt was dread. At work, the office was a ghost town. Evelyn called in sick, and Richard was unavailable. Marcus avoided my eyes, his silence louder than words. Then Clara called, her voice shaking. "Elliot, someone broke into my apartment. They trashed everything." My world tilted. The article was out, but the cost was rising. I raced to Clara's place, finding her shaken but unharmed. As I helped her clean, I found a note pinned to her fridge: "Last warning." My revenge had worked, but at what price? And who was pulling the strings? Evelyn was fired the next day, her office cleared out by security. The board claimed they were investigating, but the news cycle moved on, and Richard remained untouched. I should have felt victorious, but the note on Clara's fridge haunted me. Someone bigger was behind this, and I was still a target. I went back to Lila, desperate for answers. She looked worse than before, her eyes hollow. "You stirred the pot, Elliot," she said. "They're cleaning house. You need to disappear." She gave me a name, Victor Crane, a board member who'd been CC'd on Evelyn's shadiest emails. "He's the key," Lila said. "But he's dangerous. Ex-military, connected to people who don't play nice." I tracked Victor to a charity gala, slipping in with a borrowed suit. He was all charm, shaking hands, but his eyes were cold, calculating. I cornered him in a quiet hallway, bluffing. "I know about Blue Horizon, Victor. The emails, the accounts, everything." His smile didn't waver, but his hand gripped my arm like a vice. "You're a small man in a big game, Elliot," he said. "Walk away, or you won't." As he left, I noticed Marcus across the room, talking to Victor. My blood ran cold. Was Marcus playing both sides? I followed him outside, confronting him in the parking lot. "What the hell, Marcus?" I snapped. He looked panicked. "I didn't have a choice, Elliot. They threatened my family." Before I could respond, headlights flashed, and the black SUV roared toward us. Marcus shoved me out of the way, but the impact was deafening. He hit the ground, motionless, as the SUV sped off. Was he dead? And was I next? Marcus was alive, barely. Hospital monitors beeped as I sat by his bed, guilt gnawing at me. He'd betrayed me, but he'd also saved me. When he woke, he whispered, "Victor's meeting someone tonight. Warehouse on 5th, end this, Elliot." I nodded, my resolve hardening. This wasn't just about Evelyn anymore, it was about stopping the machine. I went to the warehouse, armed with nothing but the USB and a voice recorder. The place was dark, reeking of oil and rust. Voices echoed, Victor's and another, unfamiliar. I crept closer, recording. "The more kids a problem," Victor said. "He's got too much." The other voice, calm and cold, replied, "Handle it. Like you handled Lila." My heart stopped. Lila was dead. When? How? I didn't have time to process. Footsteps approached, and I ducked behind a crate. Victor's phone lit up his face as he passed, inches away. I held my breath, the recorder still running. When they left, I had enough: names, dates, proof of murders tied to Blue Horizon. I sent it all to Sarah, with a note: "Publish this, no matter what happens to me." The next day, the story broke. Victor was arrested, Richard resigned, and Pinnacle's stock tanked. I should have felt free, but I didn't. Clara was safe, but Marcus was still in a coma, and Lila's death weighed on me. Revenge hadn't fixed anything, it had just left scars. As I packed my desk, ready to leave Pinnacle for good, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. "You think this is over, Elliot?" the voice said. "We're just getting started." I froze, staring at the empty office. Who was still out there, and what did they want?